Kila mwaka mamilioni ya Waislamu kutoka kila kona ya dunia hukusanyika katika ardhi tukufu ya Makka.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports,
drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
to keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.
Halafu ukishaziweka hivyo, halafu wacha kuwa hivyo, chomoa coins. You work hard for your money. Why disregard some of it? Collectively, the coins we disregard can help curb the rising cost of consumer goods. Deposit coins at any bank or use or exchange them at any supermarket or retail store. Chomoa coins.
Exactly 9 o'clock on the nose, and you're right on time for the day's reports, including the recent developments in relation to the slain teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang. This is Prime Edition. As usual, the day's highlights.
While his condition is critically ill, he is alive and is under close round-the-clock observation and care by our dedicated medical team.
Two uniformed cops caught on camera shooting face mask vendor unmasked as doctors successfully dislodged the bullets from the victim's brain. IPOA summons Deputy Police IG Elliot Lagat to record statement over the mysterious death of blogger Albert Ojwang. Stalemate unlocked. A mediation team on equitable share of revenue unanimously agrees on 415 billion shillings to go to the counties. President Ruto hosts a delegation of Kisumu leaders at Nairobi's State House. Thank you so much for making time for us. This is Prime Edition. I'm Doreen Arange, and Wangeshi is our sign language interpreter. And our doctors at the Kenyatta National Hospital have removed a bullet that was lodged in the head of Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, the unarmed civilian who was shot by police during protests in Nairobi on Tuesday. In a statement Wednesday, the hospital said Mwangi is in the intensive care unit and his condition is grave. Kenyatta National Hospital's acting chief executive officer, Dr. William Sigilai, confirmed that 16 casualties linked to the protest were treated at the facility. Meanwhile, 2 police officers involved in the shooting incident have been arrested.
22-year-old Boniface Mwangi Kariuki is fighting for his life after he was shot at a close range in a violent protest on Tuesday. Doctors at the Kenyatta National Hospital successfully removed a bullet from his head on Wednesday and is currently under intensive care and is on life support.
The patient was wheeled into theatre where a complex and delicate surgery was conducted by a multidisciplinary team under the leadership of our neurosurgeon, Dr. Sam Jiru. The procedure in theatre lasted about 2 hours. During the procedure, an object believed to be a bullet was removed. While his condition is critically ill, he is alive and is under close round-the-clock observation and care by our dedicated medical team.
His father, Jonah Kariuki, says Boniface had left their home in Makadara on Tuesday morning, hoping to make just enough to survive the week.
Mungu asaidie tu apone na serikali wache hiyo mambo ya kupiga mtu innocent. Juu huyo ni kijana anajitafutia mali yake, alikuwa anauza maski, si kuiba, alikuwa anaiba. Na hakuwa hata ameshika mawe ati anataka kupiga polisi. Na kila mtu anaona hata vile alipigwa.
16 people have been treated for various injuries and 2 including Boniface have already undergone surgery.
Ni masaa 24 ya kwanza. Ni wakati muhimu sasa ambao tunakumbana nayo. Ni vigumu kusema kwa sasa jinsi mambo yatakavyotokea. Kwa hivyo tutahitaji muda ili tuweze kutathmini hali yake, na ndivyo nimesema kwamba kila siku tutaweza kuwaeleza jinsi yanavyoendelea.
4 more are scheduled for operations today. 9 protesters were treated and discharged. 1 patient, still unidentified, is reported to have suffered a skull fracture from blunt trauma. Philip Okech, a university student and a fellow protester, is also among those recovering.
I was shot 2 bullets, one at the arm, another one at the neck. The moment I was shot, I got unconscious, and I got consciousness at around 7 p.m. at Kenyatta.
As Boniface remains unconscious, his story has come to symbolize both personal pain and a growing national outrage, fueling louder calls for justice, accountability, and an end to the violence.
Polisi wote wawajibike juu hata hao wako na watoto, na ule wameumiza pia ni mtoto wa mtu. Unasikia uko na uchungu mingi, na huyo karao amefanya makosa na anafaa kuchukuliwa hatua kali.
Tunaambia serikali hapa sio ile mambo ambayo tunasemaga hatujui, ama we want justice for Boniface Kariuki Mwangi and nothing less than justice.
Na tunasikia kuna askari alishikwa jana, walitueleza hatujui picha yake, hatujui jina yake, hatujui badge yake, na hatujamwona mahali. Tunajua 24 hours zinaisha before jioni. It's either atuletee, waweke kwa gazeti tumuone akiwa kwa koti, akifanywa mashtaka, ndio tujue kweli hii country ni ya democracy.
Goons were being protected by police, and the police attacked this young man who was trying to eke out a living by selling masks, who was very peaceful, he was not looting, was not doing anything, and they protected the goons. And as a result of that, we need proper intervention.
22-year-old, identified by his family as Boniface Kariuki, is still in the intensive care unit, alive but fighting for his life. The bullet is out, but the question remains who will take responsibility. Reporting for Prime Edition from Kenyatta National Hospital, I'm Ben Chumba.
Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat is expected to record a statement with the Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) on Thursday this week over the death of blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang, who died in police custody. Lagat, who stepped aside to allow investigations, has been summoned as the probe into the mysterious death continues. IPOA has so far recorded statements from 20 police officers who were involved in arresting, transferring and holding the late Ojwang at Nairobi's Central Police Station, and is expected to conclude the investigations next week.
Having interrogated 20 police officers, including the deputy officer commanding station, Nairobi Central Police Station, over the death of blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang, who died in police custody, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority has now summoned Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat to record a statement.
IPOA has now issued summons to the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mr. Eliud Lagat, to appear before the authorities' investigations team to record a statement.
IPOA has also requested mobile service providers to provide data for all the suspects implicated in the case to establish their movements during the time of murder. The authority further wants all suspects, including 3 civilians accused of interfering with CCTV footage at Central Police Station, to remain in custody to allow the conclusion of investigations.
Civilians who have been also arrested include Kelvin Mutisia Mutava, who allegedly interfered with the CCTV footage, and 3 others, namely Brian Waniki Njue, Collins Karani, and Jean Amito, who were inmates at the Central Police Station on the material day. They were taken to various courts. IPOA, through its investigating officer, made applications in court for all the arraigned suspects to be held for more time to allow IPOA to conclude its investigations.
IPOA chairperson Isaac Hassan, while assuring Kenyans there will be no sacred cow and all persons found culpable will be prosecuted, said the recommendations for charging suspects will be ready next week.
To expedite the investigation, IPOA has been working collaboratively with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, and IPOA is confident that by early next week, the investigation file with a recommendation to charge various suspects will be ready.
IPOA is also investigating at least 13 cases of police brutality witnessed during Tuesday's protest, including the 2 police officers arrested for shooting a man in Nairobi Central Business District.
Arising from the monitoring, IPOA recorded at least 13 serious injuries, including the shooting of Mr. Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, who is hospitalized under intensive care.
As investigations continue, IPOA wants the Inspector General of Police to rein in the conduct of his officers to improve public order management. Gishoke Washira, Prime Edition.
The National Police Service has finally released the names of 2 police officers caught on camera assaulting and shooting a man during Tuesday protest in Nairobi's Central Business District. The Police Constable Clinzy Baraza Masinde and Police Constable Duncan Kiprono have also been interdicted. The revelation comes after the Law Society of Kenya questioned why their identity had not been made public. The LSK has further demanded their arraignment in court to face criminal charges.
Less than a day after the National Police Service said the police officer who shot an unarmed man at a point-blank range is in custody, the Law Society of Kenya is reading foul play. LSK President Faith Odhiambo saying the officer ought to be produced in court to face justice.
He must be treated as the face of impunity and criminality within the police service, and his ultimate punishment must serve as a lasting deterrent for all officers who undermine and violate their constitutional duties.
Are aware that the court ordered that no police officer should come to the street covering their faces or using any means to cover their identity. As the Law Society of Kenya, we intend to go back to court and institute contempt proceedings against the Inspector General of Police, against the Cabinet Secretary, the Ministry of Interior, for deliberately violating decisions that have already been made by the court and for being in contempt of that decision.
Hours later, the National Police Service vowed to pressure and disclose the identity of the suspects. In a statement, the police spokesperson identified the officers as Police Constable Clinzy Baraza Masinde and Police Constable Duncan Kiprono, adding that the two have since been interdicted and now await their day in court.
Should this trend be allowed to continue, the relationship between the public and the police faces the risk of damage beyond repair. That cannot become our reality as a nation.
LSK also condemned violence and looting of shops by goons.
We are exasperated by videos showing an attack by the criminal gang on an advocate of the High Court of Kenya who was on his way to meet with a client, Mr. Ken Ochieng, who confirmed that he witnessed the crowd of goons who descended on him being dropped off along Koinange Street by a police Land Cruiser escorted by several bodabodas carrying multiple armed pillion passengers.
However, in a rejoinder, National Police Service spokesperson Mushiru Nyaga said 4 laptops had been recovered from a looter. Nyaga adding that anyone whose premises were broken into and their laptops stolen should visit Nairobi Central Police Station to identify the recovered items. Footage captured by CCTV cameras of the electronic shops shows looters getting away with laptops and other electronic gadgets. The British High Commission to Kenya has also called out the police. In a statement, the Commission said it was deeply disturbed by violence against unarmed civilians and protesters. It urged a swift, independent and transparent investigation into the actions of the police. Giverson Maina, Prime Edition.
The Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Kipchumba Murkomen, has been summoned to appear before the National Assembly next week amid growing concerns over police brutality. This follows the death of teacher Albert Ojwang in police custody, which has sparked public outrage and renewed calls for accountability within the police service.
On Wednesday, members of the National Assembly expressed dissatisfaction with the Interior Ministry's response to the circumstances surrounding teacher Albert Ojwang's death, citing a lack of clarity on critical details, including the reason for his transfer to Nairobi, the nature of the post that triggered his arrest, and the documentation surrounding his detention.
What was asked was what specific online post led to his arrest. Mr. Speaker, up to this point, we do not know. Was Albert's detention documented at the Central Police Station? Mr. Speaker, the response clearly should have stated that it was not. I am not fully satisfied, and this is the message.
The statement is quite insufficient. Honourable Speaker, from a far look, this looks like there's a lot of conspiracy around that case. And Honourable Speaker, I am appealing to the committee to go beyond a poor statement.
The developments come even as public protests, particularly among the youth, intensify, with Tuesday demonstrations drawing sharp criticism, especially over the conduct of police officers.
What we saw in the streets yesterday, somebody brazenly shooting at a human being, Mr. Speaker. It means that it has not sunk.
There is a need, Honourable Speaker, for this National Assembly to go beyond the issue of getting a report from IPOA and actually form a commission of inquiry.
Because Ojwang's death demonstrates what happens every day, except it does not come to the limelight. I would suggest that, Mr. Speaker, you consider constituting an ad hoc committee to look into what actually happened and also to look into what happens to other persons in similar circumstances so that the police can be brought to order.
Only 2 days ago, Mr. Nditi died in a police
post in my constituency, allegedly by suicide. Mr. Speaker, again in, I think, Nyando or somewhere, somebody else died allegedly by suicide in a police...
You know what you should do, Honorable Millie?
Speaker Moses Wetangula has, however, directed CS Kipchumba Murkomen to appear before the House next Wednesday to provide further explanation. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
And now that story by Kamche Menza takes us on our first break. We recorded plenty more, including business and sports. Stay with us.
Nimeua mtu kweli? Haujaua. Alafu basi nipeleke pole pole. Wote niongee na huyu. Lakini unapatanga advertisement, si ndio?
Sasa advertisement ikitokea kama haoni atajuaje?
Please, I'm not asking you. Why do you vacuum people in the store? Which? The English now is coming out. 50,000 pocket money. Mtoto ende tiaribu.
Hiyo ni kama sini change kidogo, pesa kidogo ambayo naweza.
Umesikia market 30.
Wewe sorry hizo man.
Hope utaleta jili juju ya kukidnap mtoto.
Hey, mbona?
If I was in your shoes, I'll try and out him.
Just get straight to the point. You know what? Auntie Jill was playing a game. This game is called...
Is called what?
Is that a Bible?
Yes.
A little bit confused.
I can never do anything to Malaika. I just wanted you back.
Welcome back. You're still on Prime Edition. Let's continue to inform you. And our traders and businessmen in Nairobi and its environs are counting losses following the Tuesday demos where protesters took to the streets demanding justice for the slain teacher Albert Ojwang. The group is calling on the security apparatus to assure them of their security and their businesses whenever there is a protest, which they say is largely infiltrated by goons. Timothy Kipnusu reports that police have disassociated themselves with the goons who clashed with the protesters and robbed shops.
Nairobi Central Business District, a day after chaotic protests in demanding justice for slain teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang. Shattered windows, vandalized properties and burnt trash bins is what welcomed us.
So hapa hivi ndio penye tunategemea, na sasa vita ikikuwa hapa na pale tunapata venye tunaumia.
Kama sisi like freelance photographers, let's say like hapa kwa street, unaona like kama jana, that was a loss to us kinda.
Several businessmen are still reeling from the mayhem. A spot check by KBC Channel 1 revealed that cautious normalcy is returning. Though many residents and traders remain on edge and worry of fresh rounds of demonstrations in the coming days.
Jana tumekuwa na hasara kubwa sana. Hatukuuza, kuna wengine waliharibiwa mashop. Ninaomba serikali yetu ingilie hii mambo.
A section of them said they were forced to close their businesses due to the chaotic nature of the protests, where goons infiltrated the melee and looted properties.
Kama ni maandamano, ikuwe tu maandamano ya amani. Lakini shida imechanganyikana maandamano, watu wenye si wezi na wezi.
Mtu ambaye amelipwa shilingi 500 akiona duka ya shilingi milioni 50 atafanya nini? Si ni kuiba, ataenda kuiba, hataenda kutunza hiyo mali.
Following Tuesday protest where a number of Kenyans were injured during the melee, where they took to the street to protest the killing of the slain blogger Albert Ojwang, a number of them have accused police officers for using excessive force during the protest.
Mtu ambaye alikuwa innocent, mtu ambaye alikuwa unharmed, anapigwa risasi tu ghafla. Polisi wanafaa watulinde na sio kutumaliza.
Hakuna haja ya serikali kuwa katika mamlaka na inafanya watu wale wanasema kulida ndio wanaua.
Despite what happened yesterday, why not get united as a nation? Why not get focused why not have one projection of uniting Kenyans?
As they demanded an overhaul of the National Police Service, the police, however, distanced themselves from the goons.
The goons and the police, we had no relation. And for this one to be made very clear, the role the officers played, even during that time, there's a team we have set to ensure we see, or rather we determine, what is it that made them be together. Because goons were not even in our briefing.
Nairobi County Police Commander George Seda further said it was not easy to curb the looting.
But in terms of an appreciation, arresting them will make the situation to be more worse than how it was. And that is why I'm saying also, our team, which have been made, who have been assembled, are going to investigate who are these goons through the exploration of the photos we are seeing and who hired them.
Timothy Kipnusu, for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Interdicted Central Police Station Commander Samson Talam will be the guest of the state for the next 15 days, pending investigations into the death of teacher Albert Ojwang Omondi. Trial Magistrate Ben Mark Ehubi ruled that the prosecution had adduced compelling reasons to show Talam could use his influence to interfere with the witnesses. This even as Independent Policing Oversight Authority investigator Abdirahman Jibril was summoned for mischief in using Talam's mobile phone that is under his custody to solicit money from members of the public.
Appearing in court Wednesday for the ruling, Samson Talam waited patiently for his pre-charge bail. The prosecution and the IPOA team had on Monday applied to detain him for 21 days, citing the complexity of the exercise.
Reasonably and logically, and because I'm a student of common sense and the law, and commonsensically starts counting from 16. According to us, the counting from 16, that would also be supported by the fact that the court gave its days in relation to the date of delivery of the ruling.
Trial Magistrate Ben Mark Ehubi ruled that the prosecution had stated 4 compelling reasons to detain Talam, but fear of interference with witnesses, given his rank as a chief inspector, caught the court's attention.
It is also not controverted that the scene of crime was tampered with, where the CCTV surveillance system installed at the station were interfered with. Cumulatively, having laid down the evidence pointing to the possibility of respondent interfering with the witness and investigation, I can sagaciously adjure that the state has credibly and specifically demonstrated the likelihood of such interference.
The court also noted that in his 29 years of service, Talam has a rich network across the country and could apply the Blue Code of Silence to cover up on the matter.
The investigating officer, Abdirahman Jibril, estimated that they are 49% through with the investigation. Extrapolating from that figure, I direct that the respondent shall be remanded for a period of 15 days to allow the conclusion of investigation.
The magistrate further summoned IPOA investigator Abdirahman Jibril to court this Friday, 20th June, to respond to claims by Talam's lawyers of using his phone, which is in his custody, to solicit money from the phone contacts.
And then we can summon the investigating officer, Mr. Jibril, to shed light, because, through I understand he has communicated through a message.
Meanwhile, the interdicted OCS will remain in custody until 1st of July this year. The Blue Code of Silence that is covering up of police officers has denied Talam freedom of liberty, even as investigations into the death of teacher Albert Ojwang gathers momentum. Ruth Wamboi reporting from Milimani, Lokot.
And President William Ruto has reiterated the government's commitment to ensure that no region or community will be left behind in the endeavor to transform Kenya. The head of state said inclusive development powers the country's energies in all sectors and all value chains.
On Wednesday, President William Ruto hosted a delegation from Kisumu County, led by Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o at State House in Nairobi. The delegation included members of parliament, members of the county assembly, professionals, clergy and elders, among others. The head of state reaffirmed the government's resolve to ensure no region is left out in the endeavor to transform Kenya. The president said the development of blue economy resources is bearing fruit and improving the incomes of fisher folk not only in Kisumu but across Lake Victoria region.
We are doing a ferry. We're starting today. And shortly it will be available for lake transport. We are going to spend 800 million, about 750 to 800 million shillings on this ferry. We are starting today to join Kisumu with Siaya, Usenge, and those other areas.
The Kabonya Fisheries and Aquaculture Center will grow between 25 million and 30 million fingerlings a year, while fish landing sites are being built in the region.
In order for us to have enough production in the next 2 years for those industries that we are putting up to actually make sense, if we leave production only to the middle class and the rich, we will keep our people in poverty. So we want to aid them to also be part of the production.
The local mama in the village can now go to get birth certificate, and the turnaround time is 20 minutes. You go to register, within 20 minutes, you leave with your birth certificate. Identity cards, within 1 week, at most 9 days, you come out with the identity card. This is one of the things that we are celebrating you for.
President Ruto also gazetted Jaramogi Oginga Hospital elevation to level 6 to enable the facility offer specialist services previously unavailable in Western Kenya.
We have allocated 3 billion shillings to not just manage, but to begin the process of transforming that facility to a truly level 6 facility. And there are other interventions that we are going to carry out in that facility because it occupies a significant place in making sure that we support health provision at that level.
Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition.
And the month of June is celebrated annually as the Men Mental Health Awareness Month. In the exploration of the unspoken challenges of mental health in men, the film Lost in Time, directed by Peter Kawa, delves deep into the struggles faced by men, shedding light on the importance of addressing and destigmatizing mental health issues. Here's the review of the film Lost in Time by our very own Jacqueline Masharia.
Yes, sir.
Give him a break for once.
The film Lost in Time, directed by Peter Kawa, stars George Moore as Sam.
I made a room for you in my house.
A man desperate for a fresh start who moves into his best friend compound with his wife and daughter.
Ladies, welcome home.
However, what begins as a hopeful new chapter quickly spirals into a nightmare journey through buried secrets and past traumas.
Initially, it was not a mental health film. It was just a thriller that had a lot of twists and turns. But the moment we realized that as we were developing our character, we realized that this man is actually going through something that we can easily, tie in with the mental health conversation. Myself and my writer, Eddie Joe, we are both fathers. And our executive producer, called Jimmy Gore, is a father. And we realized some of the challenges that we go through when you're raising our kids are things that we could tackle in this film.
There's something strange going on at Michael's place.
Peter Kawa, the film director, notes the protagonist George Moore delivered a powerful performance as Sam.
With Lillian,
a man haunted by his father's secrets and driven by an obsessive need to protect his child.
How many times have I told you not to go running like that, Sifu? How many times? How many times?
His character embodies the silent struggle many men face when dealing with psychological trauma and emotional distress.
Judge Moore, who won actually Best Actor for playing the role in the film, initially he had started working with us this journey. He had heard that we are developing this script. And we were like, you know what, why not give him a chance? Because we've always known Judge Moore to be this mugumu, you know, even his performances in other projects, you can always tell he's all this manly man. But we were like, you know, how about if we give him a challenge? Something that can really dig deep into his emotions. It's an experience that made us feel like you do not necessarily need money if you really have a good story and you have a community around you that are willing to come on board and co-produce with you. Yes, because many people gave in kind to make sure that the film was a success.
I need to go in there.
I can't let you do that, Sam. I won't allow you to.
The film's evaluation of the themes of mental health is particularly relevant in the context of increasing awareness around mental health.
FIFA!
Peter Kawa notes Lost in Time contributes to this discourse by highlighting the destructive impact of unaddressed mental health issues and the importance of seeking help.
We had done a couple of conversations even before the premiere. We had gone to mental health institutions. We had talked to patients, and we made sure that the film is quite relatable to a conversation that was very ripe at that time. If we do not use film as a tool to speak to a generation, especially just highlighting the challenges they are going through, then you're not necessarily doing much. So we felt like, even when we started out even doing films as Film Lab Kenya back in the day, we had a very intentional agenda. How do we use our film as a conversation starter? We want men not to be afraid to speak out their hearts. Sometimes, you know, African men, we've been raised to be macho men, you know, but then how will we heal if we don't find someone, if we don't create a community? Not even just going telling everyone. Why don't you just create a community of, you know, men and sit and just talk about the challenges you're going through, and you realize whatever you're going through, maybe someone else is going through the same.
Call the authorities and tell them more that our friend and neighbor have our daughter.
The film has also bagged different awards, including 5 Kalasha Awards in 2019 for Best Feature Film, Best Director Peter Kawa, Best Actor Judge Moore, Best Screenplay Edijo Moniki, and Best Sound Design Karanja Kyare.
I came into this industry when the film industry was literally taking shape. Technically, yes, there was growth, but the business mind behind it was still shaky. But as you speak right now, 18 years down the line for me, I'd say there's a lot of potential. We've been growing. I'd say we have a film commission that has been very supportive, especially if you'll allow me to mention the name of the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission, Timothy Owase. He's done a great job ever since he took up in 2018. You know, he's tried his best to put us on the map. Right now, Lost in Time is on an online platform called My Movies Africa. Yes, it is literally the only platform right now that is locally made, locally run, and is really giving out of a big platform for many filmmakers who are looking for, you know, visibility and a platform to showcase their films.
Listen to the sound of my voice.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kenya.
Wake up with Good Morning Kenya, the morning show that's got it all.
We dive deep into issues shaping our country.
Youth are a voice of a nation.
What is the next step for the young people?
Unpacking political landscape from Monday to Wednesday.
We discuss family matters.
It is very important to guard your relationship.
And for your health.
Someone doesn't wake up and they become an addict. It's in stages.
We've got you covered each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Every Wednesday, it's all about The Viewpoint.
A day in politics is like 1,000 years.
Unpacking the biggest stories of the week, getting you insights and getting you ready for your day.
And the package is not yet done. I get to fix your Thursday with some entertainment. Entertainment Thursday, it is.
Good morning, Kenya.
We shape your day.
Good Morning Kenya, every weekday morning on KBC Channel 1.
Tunafahamu uasis ama uanzilishaji wa sunna hii ya kuchinja katika tarehe 10 ya Dhulhijja. Walipokuwa tayari kumchinja mwanaye, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aliteremsha kondoo kutoka mbinguni na kumwamuru Nabii Ibrahim kumchinja kondoo yule.
Kuwa na tabia nzuri aliyokuwa nayo Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallama, ili uwe mwenye kupendwa na Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallama na uwe karibu yake siku ya Kiyama.
Laka wal mulk la sharika lak.
Kila mwaka mamilioni ya Waislamu kutoka kila kona ya dunia hukusanyika katika ardhi tukufu ya Maka.
Time for your business news now, and the role of counties in addressing the urban development crisis has come under sharp focus in the ongoing Kenya Urban Forum. The government says counties should enhance their own source revenue to help in proper planning of the burgeoning urban landscape in Kenya.
Kenya is facing an urban planning crisis. From poorly planned urban centers to population exploitation bursting at the seam, the country is in planning dire straits. In Nairobi County, the last updated urban planning is more than 40 years old, with the rest of the counties lacking in physical urban planning. Apart from financial shortages, most counties do not employ the service of urban planners and designers, leading to haphazard development. Speakers at the ongoing Kenya Urban Planning say counties should enhance their revenue collection to give them financial latitude.
There were 13 key resolutions that were made. All of them, we are making progress on them, including own source revenue, ensuring that county governments are now better resourced to be able to chart out their plan.
We are pushing that the county governments can be able to allow the municipalities, the municipal bonds themselves, to be able to collect revenue within their jurisdiction as per the worker. It's a role that should be given to the municipalities, to the cities, so that the same can be utilized to provide services.
During the second day of the Kenya Urban Forum being held in Naivasha, stakeholders have decried the lack of progress in the implementation of resolutions from the first Urban Forum. While there has been considerable progress, particularly in affordable housing, funding for urban development remains inadequate, leading to rural-urban migration catastrophe.
You have heard that by 2050, about half of the population of this country will be living in urban areas. And currently, about 30% of the population is actually resident in the urban areas. So the question that we are asking in this conference is, are we ready as a country to receive that population that is expected to live within the urban areas? I think the answer is a resounding no.
The government further says the availability of public land in urban areas continues to slow down the development of affordable housing in the country.
The numbers are very big. We might not be able to meet all of them. When we get to the point where we have enough stock of houses, we shall be able to now employ on renting. But as far as I'm concerned, the renting and the TPS are very close. It makes more sense to get into ownership. Because, you know, ownership gives you a lot of status. It gives you an asset that you can be able to trade with. So we are encouraging people to go for ownership.
John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
The Kenya Shipyards has commenced the construction of a shallow drought public ferry in Kisumu in a bid to ease water transport within the Lake Basin region. Defense Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya, while overseeing the laying of the keel for the construction work, noted that the move is a part of a plan by the government to fully harness the blue economy potential offered by Lake Victoria. The 29 meters long public ferry will be constructed within 2 months. Once complete, the vessel is expected to ease transport services within the Lake Basin region by connecting the riparian counties of Busia, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, and Migori. The public ferry being constructed by the Kenya Shipyards Limited will offer cost-effective transport services on Lake Victoria.
Lake Victoria supports a population of over 40 million people across Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Yet, the maritime infrastructure remains underdeveloped. This new vessel, whose foundation we are laying today, will be more than a means of transport for Kenya and regional neighbors, Tanzania and Uganda, over Lake Victoria. It is a symbol of Kenya's commitment to industrial growth, regional connectivity, and maritime excellence.
Where must be plied has been plied by private ferries. And there has been a time that even the private ferries stopped plying those routes, and therefore the people have been left to their own devices in terms of getting their goods.
The only thing that we need to do as government, and which we are doing under the government of Dr. William Ruto, is to work on the mobility and the connectivity and the support infrastructure, and lives will change.
Kenya is banking on direct flights to Hungary to increase its export to the European Union. Trade Principal Secretary Regina Ombam says direct flights to Budapest is among trades agreement between the two countries that will also see Kenya export horticultural and tea exports directly to Hungary. Kenya-Hungary trade is valued at 2.6 billion shillings, while the trade in favor of the European nation. The two countries are planning to increase the trade to 8 billion shillings in the short term through increased trade volumes. Hungary and Kenya are planning direct flights in a raft of memorandums of understanding that plans to increase traffic tariffs between the two countries. The bilateral agreements will also see Kenya export value-added horticulture produces, tea and coffee directly to Hungary as Kenya increase its international market share.
We have potential in the area of small-scale enterprises. We are also really pushing the special economic zones and county aggregated industrial parks. So this infrastructure, as Kenya, if we have it all set, it is actually a gateway to getting investors coming to invest in country and be able to help in our production sector and really push the area of job creation for our population.
Items and agreements and so on. And we very much aware of the fine products of Kenyan agriculture, and I'm sure there is much more that Kenya can offer. Likewise, Hungary is a small country, so what we can offer is not about quantity, but quality. What we can offer is Hungarian technological expertise and know-how, technology-intensive industries.
The proposed virtual asset service providers VAS Bill 2025 may age out small players if passed. And in its current form, Yellow Card Senior Legal Counsel Edline Murugi says the government should consider a tier system in the provision of penalties and licensing, adding that high compliance costs and penalties may be unattainable for smaller players.
The Virtual Asset Service Providers VASP Bill 2025 aims to establish a comprehensive legal and regulatory framework for virtual assets and the entities that offer services related to them. The legislation has been positively welcomed by players. However, a section believes it could be made even better.
So that's actually going on, it's happening. A lot of Kenyans have adopted this, and it goes hand in hand with our adoption of mobile money. And I think most of you might know that M-Pesa also sort of works like a stablecoin. It may not be on the blockchain, but it sort of works like a stablecoin as well, because for every unit, 1 unit of M-Pesa, there is a Kenyan shilling somewhere in a trust account.
For example, the bill proposes fines of up to 10 million shillings and even possible prison terms for up to 5 years for infractions. Here, the government is hoping to edge out bad actors using virtual assets.
This is a new industry. Why are the penalties for the virtual assets higher than fintech players? So our suggestion was we can have the penalties slightly lower than the fintech industry, then tiered towards small, medium, large,
And as the industry grows, the penalties grow, which is what happened in banking.
The VASP bill is currently under parliamentary consideration, where regulatory oversight will be shared between the Central Bank of Kenya and the Capital Markets Authority. But what else could be done to streamline the sector for the good of the economy?
You should have more of a progressive approach towards penalties. Let them be low as the industry grows and you see how much money is moving within the industry, the penalties grow. If you realize that the people in the industry are taking this particular thing for granted, then you add more penalties to that thing as compared to the other thing that the industry players are not necessarily doing.
The bill's successful implementation could position Kenya as a more attractive hub for crypto-related ventures in the region.
Industry players are now saying that the issue of virtual asset service provision is not a matter of large or small. However, they're looking for proportionality when it comes to issuing penalties to small players and big players alike. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
The government plans to regulate the use of artificial intelligence in Kenya to strike a balance between leveraging the technology and risk mitigation. Members of Parliament say this development arises amid increasing worries about the AI-driven disinformation as it could be used to manipulate public opinion and undermine trust in public institutions. The legislators have further tasked the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy to fast-track the creation of a regulatory framework that will encourage innovation that aligns with national values and priorities.
One of the greatest problems that states are to have is the issue of insecurity related to where technology is taking us to. The police, the intelligence, the governments, wherever they are at risk because individuals are ahead of them. Citizens are ahead of them. And that's why there's this outcry, because you are trying to adjust, you are trying to add up with a speed that you are not able to cope.
Our government, rather, must move fast and regulate the artificial intelligence space, owing to the fact that artificial intelligence nowadays is even being used in the space of healthcare. It's also being used in the space of manufacturing. It is also being used in the space of education. So how can we, in a world that is moving very fast, be reluctant in regulating this space?
The men and women in boats, they are commanded to defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya. Their bravery knows no limits.
Make a man go through the wall without breaking the wall.
Laziness, it is not in our vocabulary.
But what are their stories, their tales? Military Tales, every Saturday at 9 p.m. with Ben Troy Joe. "19 nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's saved.
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Time for some sporting action. The national women's soccer team Harambee Starlets aim to maintain their unbeaten run when they play South Sudan tomorrow in the ongoing CECAFA Senior Women's Championship in Tanzania after a dominant 4-0 victory over Uganda's Crested Cranes in their second match at the Azam Complex last night. Kenya took control of the match from kickoff to race to a 3-0 lead by halftime. Diana Washera opened the score sheet in the 18th minute with a powerful header from a well-placed corner by Akinyi. Team captain and women of the match Dorcas Shikobe doubled the lead in the 26th minute with a composed one-touch finish before Violet Nanjala netted the third 2 minutes later to leave Uganda trailing by the breath. Martha Amuyokolet sealed the win with a goal in the 80th minute, her third in the tournament, to ensure a second consecutive victory for Kenya following their 3-0 defeat of Burundi. With 6 points from the 2 matches, Starlets now sit in second place, well positioned for the title they last won in 2019. Uganda, who are the defending champions, had hoped to build on their earlier 5-0 win over South Sudan, but it was not to be as hosts and 2-time champions Tanzania cruised to a 6-0 win over Burundi, marking their second victory in the competition.
Weka mpira ndani kule, nafasi kwa Kenya namna gani hapa kwenye box goal, kwenye kamba tena. Wakati huu ni Dorcas. Through ball pass kumtafuta Violet Nanjala sasa. Violet Nanjala! Mwanga maji ndani kule, nafasi kwa Feza!
Sports federations have been urged to launch education and awareness campaigns to combat sexual and gender-based violence, SGBV, against women athletes. The call comes in the wake of a new study by Aga Khan University's Graduate School of Media and Communications, which revealed a high prevalence of SGBV among women athletes in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
Based on data from 748 survey respondents and 18 in-depth interviews across 32 national sports federations and associations, the study reveals that 62% of participants have either experienced or know someone who has experienced some form of violence. In Kenya, this figure has surged to 69%, up from 43% in 2022, according to government data.
I would say most coaches use coercion in wooing their targets. There is this very senior club in one of our disciplines, and the coach also happens to be a national coach. So definitely, you know what it means. It means that you don't give in to the advances, then you're out of the national team.
The findings further indicate that 82% of female athletes are more vulnerable to sexual and gender-based violence, SGBV, than their male counterparts.
Sad part of these statistics is that of the murders. They all happened at home. And the alleged suspects are either husbands, wife, boyfriend, or partner in spaces that anyone should be feeling safer than any other place.
Verbal abuse is the most prevalent form, followed by emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, often perpetrated by coaches, team officials, and spectators.
It is a call to action, and we have the right stakeholders in the room. There's been a lot that has been said about education and training and awareness, and that essentially must lead the way. There's also a clarion call for stronger policies, and we have the right people in the room.
Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
Kenya hopes to send a working football men's team to play at the 2027 World Nations Cup after the introduction of the sport in Kenya in October last year. With only Nigeria and Rwanda having competed at the World Nation Cup in Spain in 2025, trainer Ricky Ware has been in the country conducting training sessions with former footballers to ensure Kenya makes it to the 2027 global event. More than 20 players aged above 40 years attended today's training session at Uhuru Sports Complex in Nairobi.
This afternoon we've been doing a walking football session. Started off, I shared the rules of walking football with these legends so they could understand the rules of the game. And then the last 15 minutes or so we went into what I would call a structured game, stopping the play not only because someone made an infringement but also to give some coaching advice, some guidance so that by now they have a much better understanding of the game, of the rules of the game.
The National Under-17 Beach Handballs women and men's team started their debut in the International Handballs Federation Beach Handball World Championship on the sour mood when they lost all their opening matches. The women's team lost their Group B match opener against Germany by 24-8 goals before they went on to lose their return leg by 32-6 goals as the Europeans took a 2-point lead. The men's team also lost their 2 matches to Germany after being thrashed 37 in the first match before they lost their return by 34-16 goals. They faced Hungary in their second match to lose 20-10 as their women's compatriots were drubbed 39 by the Netherlands. This is the first time Kenya is featuring in the championship, which has attracted a total of 16 teams. Kristen Ojwang has made a comeback to the Moran squad that is scheduled to take part in this weekend's Rugby Africa Men's Sevens in Mauritius. The squad that was named by head coach Louise Kessia includes 4 debatants.
Excellent play, drawing in both defenders. That might be a late tackle.
Kristen Ojwang returns to the Morans after nearly 6 months on the sidelines, recovering from a serious leg injury sustained during the Dubai Sevens in December 2024. Head coach Louise Kessia has rejuvenated the squad, naming debutants Felix Okoth, Javan Otieno, Makoka Matoka and Philip Okeyo. The Morans, Kenya's development side for the Shujaa, are determined to better their 6th place finish from last year's tournament. Kenya is drawn in Pool A alongside defending champions Uganda as well as Ivory Coast and Ghana.
That's all the time we had for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. This has been KBC Prime Edition. I'm Doreen Arange, and Wangeshi has been our sign language interpreter. Good night.
Say the earth without art would just be get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best. From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Ukipata mtoto wako na ulemavu, the only thing hawa watoto wanahitaji ni upendo. Ukipenda huyu mtoto na umuonyeshe mapenzi, si ile ya kujifanya, ile mapenzi ya ukweli, huyo mtoto atagrow, uta-identify hata talents zake sababu wako na talent.
We have seen many parents, they get stuck in the denial stage. They give birth to these children, then they don't accept. They stay in the denial stage. Once they stay in the denial stage, they now move to getting depression.
Life of a caregiver is very tough, very tough.
Having a child with a disability is stigma enough. Ningependa watu wajue persons with disability, we are humans, and I thank God for people who are fighting for our rights.
Tell me in the topic, my